Ambassador He Yafei and Professor David Lampton, thanks very much for joining us. You know, the world is complex and nuanced and challenged all at the same time. We've got a global pandemic. We have a mass protest over in the United States. We have a lot of uncertainty and in changing settings as well. And within all that, a summit took place in Hawaii between China and the United States, Mike Pompeo and Yang Jiechi. Let's start off with Ambassador He Yafei. Tell us, why did this summit take place and what do you take from it?
There are no public disclosure of what had been discussed in the meeting in Hawaii. But I believe talking is always better than not talking. So my guess is that there is extensive exchange of views on very critical issues concerning both countries. They may have agree on something, disagree on something else. We don't know. But I can see a beginning of a good momentum talking. You mentioned COVID-19. I think this is only an accelerator. It's not, you could say it's a game changer, but it's more a acceleration kind of thing. You know, things are already there, but move faster because of COVID-19. They exposed some of the deeper frictions in the relationship. For one thing, I think it's mostly the relationship going in a bad direction because of the balance of power has changed. This is, Professor Lampton is an expert from a realist point of view on international relations. When balance of power changes, relations between major powers, if one is rising or growing, the other is the incumbent power, the frictions will increase. It's a test to both countries, but it's inevitable. It'll come up in economic issues, on military issues, in other areas, but balance of power changes, things will change and have to change accordingly. COVID-19 only accelerate these changes.
Professor Lampton, what do you think? You hear Ambassador He Yafei with a clear note of optimism, saying that the inevitable has unfolded. Do you share that same take?
Well, I do think that friction as power relationships change is inevitable, but I don't think it's inevitable how each side will manage that shift. And secondly, I don't think it's always obvious what direction the power relationship is going. In other words, you could have economic problems in the short run, but have a very innovative and dynamic society for the long run. And so judging exactly the state of the balance of power between countries is as much an art as it is a science. And I think furthermore that how we manage this changing balance of power there are multiple ways to handle it. And right now, I don't think either side is handling it very well. But I agree with Ambassador Hood that overall the momentum, I think was the word he used, is going in a negative direction, which brings me to the Hawaii summit. And I'll speak more about my understanding of the American side than the Chinese side. But frankly, I don't think it was very successful. I don't think it solved any problems, frankly. I think, at least I don't speak for the U.S. government. I don't consult with the U.S. government at the current time, so I'm speaking my own mind. But I think, frankly speaking, President Trump is running for re-election, and he does not want one of the few accomplishments he has in foreign policy, the phase one trade deal, to be seen as unsuccessful. And on the other hand, he's built his political brand on being tough on China. So I think he wanted to use the summit for two, what I would call tactical reasons. One, to look tough on China, but not destroy his signature achievement, namely the trade deal. So I think it served mostly domestic political purposes, but it did not fundamentally address the issues between China and the United States. And just to wind up, I do think, yes, friction between our two countries is inevitable. We've had frictions for the last 40 years. And of course, in the Cold War, we had big frictions. But I would say the last 40 years prior to the Trump administration, and frankly, in the time prior to President Xi, we were much more successful in managing difficulties than we are now.
People say, wow, there are so many frictions, and some are very deep and dangerous. So for me, I would turn rather to see whether we can identify some of the major frictions between our two countries now, and how, as Professor Lampton said, how can we manage it better? I think the first one in economic field is decoupling. A decoupling was pushed again and again on the US side by some people we know, of course, out of geopolitical considerations, etc. I don't want to overstate that, but decoupling is happening, especially in high-tech area. Take Huawei, for example, take the Department of Commerce of the US, put additional 30 plus Chinese companies on the entity list and threatening to kick China out of the US dollar system. So decoupling is pretty dangerous, but it is happening. But I do not believe a full decoupling will soon become a reality. This is first thing. Second thing I also want to hear Professor's reaction is ideological conflict, friction. We all know China, US are different countries. They do have different political system, believe in different ideology, but now this ideological conflict, friction, come to the fore. China has been labeled for whatever, and as short of evil country, almost every bad name has been labeled, attached to China. And China, of course, on the other hand, is not happy, and you have people reacting to that, saying things about the United States. So it seemed to me, these two things, among other things, many things, but decoupling and the ideological conflict or ideological war are most dangerous, because it will only deepen the mistrust that already in existence between the two countries.